Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to another night of racing here at Woodbine Mohawk Park. I, John Rallis, am here alongside my co-host, the Hall of Famer Randy Waples, who must be feeling a little bit better today, I hope.
Yes,
All right.
yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, a little bit back's been bothering me. It happens when you get old. Don't get old.
Yep, I'm hoping. I'm going to blink, and next thing you know, I'll be 70.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but
for sure.
Just enjoying the good times, though. Again, we've gotten a chance to enjoy quite a bit of racing, though, Randy, over the course of the last, few months. These Saturdays aren't quite what they used to be, given all the Grand Circuit events that we've gotten a chance to watch and cover. But still some solid races, and we get to see some high-quality horses over the next couple of nights as well.
Yeah, I thought, though, like sitting at home last night there, it certainly wasn't a nice night for racing last night. The track was bad and, couldn't have been a whole lot of fun. But I thought the driving was good. I thought, for an off night, there was lots of moves being made and that. So that's the big thing, you know what I mean? It's just, some nights we get here and it just seems like nothing really happens on the track, and then other nights we get here and it just seems like there's multiple moves. And when those nights come, boy, is it ever fun being here watching the races.
Just would be nice, again, we've talked about it last week, be nice for that favorite number to decrease.
Yes.
To go down winning favorites. Again, sometimes obviously horses drop down in class and find themselves in spots that are much more manageable, Steamer being one of them. It's not like he romped. I mean, he tripped out to a tee. Dougie gave him a perfect steer.
And he was a free square.
I was shocked that he was even money, though. I really thought he would be lower than that. Yeah, I thought he'd be even lower, right? He was dropping down.
I thought he was so much the best.
Yeah.
He was a free square.
Well, I mentioned on air last night you really liked him last time out, right? And he never got involved, but never looked like himself. He should have had a little bit more pop late. Then you see him drop down. They listed Dougie last night, and he worked out a perfect trip to a tee. But some other horses took some support last night that maybe I wasn't expecting, but I thought that was a solid price on Steamer, who I thought could have easily been 1-5 in that group personally.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought he was like much the best in there, and that's what you kind of like that about Dougie. He had a rail with Steamer. He doesn't usually drive him, but he pushed him out and got him into a good spot.
Yes,
that's all you can ask.
And speaking of Steamer, we get to see him here on screen, the fastest trotting mile of the night, 1:54.4. And Doug McNair was able to pilot him to a victory, 1 of 3 on the night for him, as well as Louis. So they both had pretty good nights, but Doug's biggest win was, how about So Much More? Win number 78 of her career. I went on there and I just didn't, came out publicly and said I didn't like her in that spot.
Right.
We know she's got the back class to get the job done. It really showed last night, and 18-1. Garnet Barnsdale made her a top pick last night, so kudos to Garnet for that selection. But she just, I thought some other mares definitely didn't bring their A game in that spot, but I don't want to take anything away from So Much More, because we just know that she's got the ability when she's at her best, and she showed it last night.
Well, there you go. That's a perfect example. If those other mares that, supposedly are, better, stronger, younger than Sophie is right now, they have to understand too, they better bring their A game, because So Much More the way that she is right now, and I don't know if it's just she's going through a resurgence, if Dougie's getting along really, really well with her, I'm not really sure at that point. But what I do know is, like I said, if you do not bring your A game, that we've seen last night with Grit and Grace, didn't bring her A game, and she paid for it, you know, and those ones will. She's just too quality of a horse there to come in there, thinking that you're going to beat her at half cock just because she's gotten a little bit older. That doesn't work for her. The ears pin the same.
Yep.
She tries just as hard now as she did when she was younger.
I thought Grit and Grace was gone last night.
Me too.
She pulled out of the 2-hole and looked like she was going to get away from them. And, she never quite looked comfortable even ahead of that final turn. I know she deuce popped a little bit early with Jody. Never really had that same level of body language that we've seen from her in the past. So, of course, it benefited obviously So Much More from winning. But again, don't want to take anything away from her, because we know that when she's at her best, she can compete. And it's nice when we can get a deeper group of open pacing mares, right? It's just going to help the wintertime when we have these, top pacing mares kind of jostling, for supremacy here throughout the winter.
Well, perfect example watching that race there last night. What about if Louis doesn't move, does Grit and Grace win the race?
Yeah, she would have been rated, much better. And
because I think Jody gets everything his own way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We saw that last week.
Louis, you could tell coming out of the first turn, Louis was itching to make that move, and he did. Puts her on top, which Jody still gets a good trip of it, but it's not the same. He didn't get everything his own way, and I think that could be the difference right there. So I'm kind of hoping, that's what I mean when they're making moves out there, it changes the race, not just lining up single file and waiting to see, who's going to get the cushiest trip of them all. Race them.
James guiding her to plenty of victories as well. But of course, Doug McNair, as of late, sitting behind that daughter of Big Jim, and certainly getting along really, really well with her. So congrats to her on win number 78 of her career. And speaking of James, we're going to kind of look back at maybe what he's done, or just kind of talk about what's ahead for him, because there's 2 more legs at the World Driving Championship. He's currently tops of the leaderboard, Randy, 130 points. In second is Gary Hall Jr. at 121.
Yeah, 9 points.
Don't know if James has the deepest of lineups over the next couple of legs, but
does anybody?
I can't recall who's maybe got the deepest lineup. But this tournament can change in a hurry. You know what I mean? Again, I've mentioned it a couple of times already. It looked like Doug was going to be a non-factor before that maybe last leg, where he just went on an absolute surge, and he really made it close. And James gets to sit atop of the leaderboard here, but I mean, those second and third place, the guy representing Sweden, I don't want to butcher his name, and Gary Hall Jr. I mean, even Blair Orange, I mean, he's really within a striking distance as well. So with 2 more legs to go, I don't know how many more heats are remaining. Still plenty of racing left, but nice to see James number 1.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And that's the thing, no matter what, they have to come to him. He's still in the spot they have to get to, So all he really has to do is just try to keep the momentum. Don't give too much back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't try to make too much out of a horse that maybe isn't all that deep. Just try to get as much as you can with that one. And then when they all start to add up, I got a feeling that James, he'll surprise a few, because even if he doesn't have the deepest lineup, the way that he babies a horse and stuff like that, I think he'll still come up with some good efforts.
And I think that this leg, the leg number 5, I think it starts maybe in 5 to 10 minutes our time. So hopefully you can catch the action as well, and we'll be following along in between races as well. All right, let's dig into tonight's action, Randy, and we're going to kick things off in race number 1. We've got a pacing event here with a field of 10 going postward. What you're looking at in a good spot here. Again, I know he just missed last time out at this level, but he's going to have an opportunity to put forth a pretty good effort, and I think he's going to be sitting on a good effort. But I really like the way Captain Fear Not raced last time out. He was our top selection last time. He made a couple of moves. We weren't sure whether we wanted Billy to stick Louis or not, right? Because Fortify took a lot of play that night, and we were thinking, you've got such a sharp horse.
Yeah.
We were talking about what you would do in that situation. Billy was right. The horse ended up having a little bit more on the end of it, and I think this horse can step up in class and get the job done tonight.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's quick, this horse. He's going to take a slight move up in class, but a very slight move up off of a win, so you got to like that about him. So let's take a look at the replay of Captain Fear Not, because both of us were really, really happy with him. And like I said, going to take a slight step up. This is non-winners of 6,000 that you're going to be witnessing here, where he's able to get the job done on Fortify and Living the Beach Life. And now tonight he's going to be into the non-winners of 9,000. But we've seen this horse race at a higher level. You can see he was third down on the bottom line in non-winners of 18,000 in against Calico Jack Hanover, Legion Sealster. So he's no stranger to racing against good horses, and absolutely loved him here. I thought he showed some good intestinal fortitude, tried right to the wire, off to a good year this year, 5 for 20. And I think by the end of tonight, he could be 6 for 21. So he's going to be my top pick in here. But I agree with you, John. I think that what you're looking at is definitely going to be the horse to beat in here. A couple of things, though. He is coming back off of a little bit of a layoff, and he does pick up the rail here tonight. Little bit of a stale date as well. Like, he did have a good effort October the 25th, but Captain Fear Not also raced October the 25th and has since came back and had a good win in there too. So I think there's a couple of more positives with Captain Fear Not. Post position, and the fact that he just won his last race. Obviously, the form is good, and hopefully he's able to get the job done. Where did you go?
I went to Captain Fear Not as well. I think he's got a good post to work with. I think what you're looking at is definitely going to be his biggest threat. Maneri coming off a couple of victories last night as well. A couple horses bouncing back in a big way, specifically being Park Avenue Janet, who was able to last on the front end, got rated a little bit better, but she looked a lot more comfortable. I mean, she was sharp last night, so I think she needed that off-the-pace approach last week to kind of just give her a little bit of a break from that racing style each and every week. So he obviously merits a lot of respect. Look, we know he can work his way back up to the preferred, right, when he's on his game. So, but Head Honcho's also sharp. Want to be a big star if things work out. The trip works out for him. I think he's one that merits respect. So, but I like where Captain Fearnot's going to be situated off the car, and that's ultimately what led to my decision to back him in this spot.
Yeah, I got to go with you on that one too. There, I think that he is the horse to that can get the job done in there. But the one horse, he's worth taking a second look at if you like the odds better.
Yep, and currently 5-2 and 7-2 respectively. Both horses definitely meriting a lot of respect in there. We're going to move on to race number 3, and that's going to kick off the early pick 4. And we've got some Harvest Series action here, Randy, for the Pacing Colts here. And no show wagering in this race, Randy, and a lot of it having to do with the fact that Figment is in this group, although I was surprised that show wagering was left on last night for Cold Creek Fuego. I know we've seen that, being a regular occurrence here for some of those heavy chalks. I was a little bit surprised that Cold Creek Fuego won that everyone figured was going to be 1-9. Similar to Figment, who's likely going to be 1-5. I was surprised that they elected, we'll turn off show wagering here, but we'll leave it on last night. But nevertheless, Figment, this David Keys homebred, is one that, he just keeps getting the job done, and he looked a lot better from the inside last time out too.
Yeah, he's just too much for the rest of them right now, like in this grouping. But there is one colt in here. Well, actually, Cold Creek Pantera, I thought that this one raced really, really well in his last one too, but a little bit of a stale date, October the 11th coming in here. But there is a colt in here, though, that showed a lot as a 2-year-old. He could go with the top 2-year-olds. And then he kind of disappeared. Now he's come back again, made a few starts as a 3-year-old, but then he went to Flamborough, had a couple of real nice wins out of the trailing position at Flamborough, which is never the easiest spot on a half-mile track. And then comes here, and we did a wait-and-see approach on him. And this is the replay that we're going to show because I think he's back. And Century Lucifer was our horse to watch in his last start, and I had him down as okay on end. So let's take a look at Century Lucifer in here for Phil Houdon, and Phil going to be on the return for this guy tonight. And like I said, we were waiting to see the big movement on the end of it because this guy brings a lot of balls to the alley. This guy, maybe he's kind of disappeared a little bit, but at some point, the Century Lucifer, I think, will come back again, and I think it could be back here tonight. I'm not going to put him ahead of Figment. I think Figment is real good, but look at Phil. Even at this point, he's still looking for room with this guy, and every time he shows him a little bit more room, he goes through it, and then Phil calls it off here. This is the best that he's going to do, lets it go, and this is going to bring Century Lucifer out of this race with even more energy stored up, So I think that Century Lucifer could come up with a big one. In fact, I also think that at some point, Phil's going to try this guy.
Yep.
Maybe it's going to be tonight. Maybe he rolls him out of there tonight and moves him forward. I'm not 100% sure, but if he does and gets him into play, he's going to be dangerous, but I'm still going to side with the Dave Keys trainee.
I was just going to get to that point, right? Eventually, when a horse, wasn't really showing much for several starts, but he's increasingly gotten better. He couldn't leave in 2 out of those 3 starts, Randy, because he was tasked with the second tier. So by virtue of that, he was just stuck. But last time out, when he finished up the way he did and the way he's been racing leading up to tonight, I'm in complete agreement with you. I think this is a spot, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if Phil had the confidence to handle him aggressively, especially given the way he's racing, the post that he gets to work with tonight. And maybe that could be the difference for a horse like Figment, who's going to step up and, take on tougher, because Century Lucifer's at his best. I don't think it's a big step up tonight in this Harvest Series for Figment per se, but I think with a horse like Century Lucifer, who we know has the ability to be really sharp, tonight could really be his toughest test with this Rene Dion trainee. So you and I both in agreement there. I'm still going to keep Figment in the pick 5. I still have the utmost confidence with him because what we saw last week was he got away so much better from the inside. He didn't have to push out of there. You just control position, right? And that's all that he had to do, and he was a comfortable winner.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I still think that he is the one to beat, but I also think that, we got a pretty easy exactor sitting here because really when you think about, there are some strangers in here, but when you really think about it, John, Century Lucifer, other than Figment, shows more than any horse in this race. So it really should be an easy exactor.
You would have to think, and I think DJ Mustang, one that you probably want to, circle for potentially next week, right? He's going to be entering Jody Collins' barn, adding Lasix here in this spot as well. I know he raced on Lasix a couple starts ago. but one that I think you just take a wait-and-see approach. Not one that I'm willing to back in this spot in particular, but you look, Jody's had a very successful year, and she's had a great last few years. So I think anything that enters their barn merits a lot of respect, but I just don't know if it's going to be good enough to beat Figment at this current moment. There's our thoughts in race number 3. We're going to move on to race number 6. That's going to kick off that late pick 5 sequence. Speaking of Lasix, how much has Lasix helped the Barracuda? Because over his last 2 tries, Randy, we've seen a lot more out of him, and his gait's been superb on the big track, something we didn't see for so many starts every time he came here.
Yeah, the big thing with Lasix too, it's not just doesn't put them on the winning ticket. What it does too, it makes them consistent.
Yep.
Even if they're getting beat, they're consistent. They're coming out of the race, they can come right back on a 7-day rotation because they're not feeling the after effects of potentially blood entering their lungs. That's why the Lasix is there, to stop that from happening. And when it does happen, not only is it a scary thing for a horse to go through, but it can also cause secondary respiratory infections down deep, and then you don't even know that it's happening until a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden this horse is really, really sick, and it was due to that. So when you got them so that you've got them cleaned up, like the Barracuda probably is right now, each week he comes out of his race a little stronger, and comes back into it strong. I'm going to throw him in for 4th. There's just a couple in here that I like the way that they've been going.
Okay.
I like the Barracuda, but I think that he needs a certain kind of a trip too to actually capitalize. Now, bank on Lucas picking up a new driver tonight. Dougie McNair drove this guy twice, had 2 nice wins with him. This guy is big time on his game, but I still like the 7 horse a little bit better. So let's take a replay on Tricks Up My Sleeve, John. In this situation, I'm looking at it as maybe Scotty just got out a little too late with this guy. That's the way that I'm going to put it on here. I say locked in until it was too late, but then he fires the last quarter in 27 and change. Nobody else is even close to those last quarters in here, and this is at half cock. As you can see, Scotty at the back of the pack right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th over with this guy, and he waits the turn. He is going to wait the turn, and this is going to be a nice drive here by Jody with Barracuda. He's got a decision to make. Does he try to weasel his way out to the outside, or does he come to the inside? He comes to the inside, and ultimately that is the winning move. But at this point, Scotty still on on Bob's back with this guy, and in my opinion, just out a little bit too late around that last turn. But look at the ground that he makes up, considering where he was, came into that race on a bad date. You know what I mean? Probably almost a 3-week difference in that date. Now he comes back with a much, much better date in here. Tricks Up My Sleeve is where I'm going.
Yeah, and you know what? It was his first time in non-winners of 3, and coming in with having missed 3 weeks, I thought that was a really good effort. So one that I'm going to use underneath, like you with the Barracuda. Maybe I ranked this guy a little bit too low, but I like the way this Gerard Demers trainee is racing. That was a big brush move to make front there in that spot, though, right? And ultimately he tired to a horse that took a lot of support in Flash Trap, and I think the Barracuda can, hopefully work out a bit of a better trip, and maybe, things can work out his way. But I'm confident in backing him in this spot. But I think the ones you mentioned as well, I think they merit respect here in this group. So, yeah, 6, 7, 8 are going to get the most looks, I'd say, in this spot, and deservedly so. But Scott Young's got a pretty good lineup tonight, I'd say. I think there's a few horses that have a really big win, that are really big win candidates, right? Figment. This guy, and also Sorcha Sealster, that he's going to get a chance to sit behind. Right? That's a really nice pickup, dropping down in class.
Who's your 4th number? Because I put Shutter Green in for 3rd.
I put Tricks Up My Sleeve in for 4th, and I put J-Port Cash underneath. I'm just for me, just intrigued with the addition of Lasix. I find it interesting that the horse was, taking on some decent company in grassroots tries. Really wasn't finishing up his miles all that well, and now we see the L pop up. So maybe there was something to it with the way he was finishing up some of his miles. And again, just one that I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach. I don't think he's ready for a big effort tonight, but I think an improved effort.
Yeah, I like the idea, too, there that Josh is sending in an equipment change on a bridle change. They're going to go from sides to an open and then add a screen. I love screens on a horse, so it'll be interesting to see what this one does for J-Port Cash, but I love when they go to a screen.
All right, that's the first leg of this Harvest Series action. That kicks off that late pick 5. We're going to move on to race number 7, and we've got a nice field of pacers here, Randy. And I went to a horse that I feel comfortable in singling in the 2-horse Rochester Flash. He's your second choice on the morning line. could see him going off as the favorite just because I think this is a much more manageable group, especially taking on 3-year-olds. But a nice group, a lot of horses in this spot racing well. But ultimately, I went to the 4-year-olds direction here. What say you?
I went the same.
Okay.
Yeah, same. And we're going to show the replay of Rochester Flash. I got him down as locked in this last start. I thought this was a really, really nice effort for him. So let's take a look at Rochester Flash. Last race here, October the 25th. Now, Waffle Blue Chip, I got him in for second. Big winner for Maneri, dropping down into this class from the 3-year-old Open, wire-to-wire winner. But if they employ the same tactics, I think that Trevor can nuzzle Rochester Flash right up on Louis' back. So let's take a look at Trevor with Rochester Flash. Easy to see here with that big yellow hood on Tetrick's back. And Trevor looking for room. Now he starts to chase him a little bit, and I wouldn't worry too much about that. Every time I see this horse race, they usually have to chase him a little bit. He's got a little bit of laziness in him. He's a stay hungry of an Albert, but he keeps coming forward, always coming forward, this guy, and nowhere to run or to move forward right on the end of it. So Rochester Flash, also the way I'm going to go.
I love him in this spot, and I thought Miraculous Desby had every chance to pass him to be third, and Rochester Flash, he showed some grit in that third place effort. I think he'll work out a much cleaner trip, and I think this is a spot where I think Trevor's just going to, say, I'm going to try and take this group from start to finish. We've seen some performances like from a Rochester Flash in the past where Trevor's put the pedal down and said, I'm going to take on this group from the word go. Again, I think this is a much softer spot, right? I mean, Century Komodo, we know when he's at his best, is a preferred caliber pacer, right? He's got the speed. Blue Hunt, who was plummeting down in class from an open try. So you and I both in agreement with Rochester Flash. I thought Waffle Blue Chip was strong last time. I thought it was a really strong effort. He earned it too, right? I mean, you could see never paced a quarter, slower than sub 28, right? I mean, it was a really, really good effort there. I thought Out of Ice raced really, really well too. I mean, we have the same top three, but what kind of trip is he going to work out from post number 8? I just think there's going to be a lot of speed in this spot.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think there's going to be all kinds of speed from this spot. And what's interesting, I find, with Waffle Blue Chip is if you look down on the right side of the horses that he's been racing against, it's the who's who of 3-year-old pacing colts. But then you go to Rochester Flash and you look at who he's been racing against, it's the who's who of older horses. Again, I got to give the advantage to Rochester Flash. I think he's been beating a little bit deeper horses. Even though Waffle Blue Chip has been facing the best 3-year-olds, I think this guy on our circuit has been facing the best older horses too.
Completely agree. I mean, you could see 2 starts back. He was 5th in that Open. Solid effort there. But look, remember the Alamo, Dublin Dasher, right? Miraculous Desby, who he's able to pick up a bigger piece the last time they competed together. I'm in complete agreement with you, Randy. It's Rochester Flash is going to be a best bet player for me tonight because I think he's I feel comfortable in saying that in race number 7. We're going to move on to race number 10. That's going to be the first half of that late double. We're going to have a group of 8 fillies and mares on the pace here in the spot. And Wicked and Single installed as your morning line favorite at 2-1. I just don't see that being the case with One Last Wish dropping out of the Fillies and Mares Open, and especially the way Aviana raced last time out. So I think she could take some play. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near 2-1. I think this is a much tougher group than what we saw her take on last time out. But how about Bull Ford? I mean, he brought in a horse here for the first time, or he brought in a horse and made his first ever WEG start with this mare. One that we talked about had the ability. She was able to put it together, and she picked up a big win at odds of 30-1.
Yeah, 25-4 on the end of it. You know what I mean? That's what happens sometimes, though, when you don't overdo it. Jody just sat last, let everybody else do the racing. You can even see, look at the first half that she goes. She goes the first half in 58-4. It was absolutely nothing. But when you can come a back half in 53 seconds flat, you're going to do some damage, and that's what she did. She's going to take a step up, though. And I got her in for third. I think that she can come back with another big effort. You mentioned One Last Wish. I got her in for second. I think also she is really, really back on her game for Ken Susi. But she's got it all is the way that I'm going to go in here. I just think that she's sitting on a really, really good effort. And when they decide to go hard with this girl, she's almost unbeatable. And I'm thinking that they're into a spot now where, Ricky's maybe going to want to try her on the front end. 6 for 36 last year, 6 for 24 so far this year. A little bit down on the money total, but definitely ahead on the win. So she's got it all. Travis Henry coming back. Let's take a look at this girl. I thought that she was a little bit on the live position last week, and I think she can take on all of these girls. The one that bothers bothers me the most is the 7-horse, One Last Wish.
Yeah, I would have to say, I thought One Last Wish again, 9-2 on the morning line. I think there's a good chance she's going to be the race favorite tonight. That was a really good effort. I ultimately went to Aviana on top, but for me, this is a wide open affair. I think One Last Wish definitely probably the one to beat here in this spot. You must love watching so much more win last night, because I think it helps the reference point with your mare here in this spot too. I mean, you loved a sweepy cheer in this spot, and she got it done in that stretch drive. But look at she's got it all. She was gaining on so much more late in the stretch, and I think that's a positive.
Yeah, and he never pulled he never got the plugs out of her till like halfway down the stretch deep. That's when he started working her forward. So I thought that it was a good effort, and to me she's dangerous. You know what I mean? If tonight is the night that they elect to put her in front, she is so tough to beat when she gets up there on front. You know, One Last Wish could maybe get the job done, but of the rest of them, I just don't see anybody. And as far as I'm concerned, there is no way that Wicked and Single is going to go off as the favorite or 2-1 or anywhere close to that. I think that they were going to be really, really lucky if she goes off in this race at, maybe 7-1.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's no shot she'll be anywhere close to that number. So if you see the morning line odds being a little bit skewed by the time the betting comes around, that's what happens. If there's one that's a little bit too low that probably shouldn't be, it kind of everything else gets jumbled around. So I think we're going to see that here in this race, because I really do think One Last Wish will be a race favorite here in this spot, especially making that drop down. But nice group of mares going poster there in race number 10. We never even touched on Sorcha Sealster, who you've got underneath.
Yeah.
She's dropping down in class. I just think she's probably one that's going to close late for a share, personally.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing with her. But she can close, I mean, she's picking up Scotty Young tonight, so he's going to want to try to do as good with her as possible. And I think her form is starting to come back to where it was, but a little bit of a stale date tonight, though, and that hasn't raced since the 24th.
All right, that's going to wrap up that late pick 5. That's going to be the first half of that late double as well, but we're going to go to that second part of that late double, the 11th and final race of the Saturday night program. We've got a field of 10 going postward here, Randy, and I think this is a pretty competitive race, in my opinion. Dirty Diana just missed last time out to Wicked and Single, who we just spoke about moments ago. She's installed as your morning line favorite at 2-1. That was a really good effort by her, and it was a good effort given by Jody, but I thought Louis drove exceptionally well to get Wicked and Single her first victory of 2025. But a lot of mares in this spot, Randy, that are really sharp. I'm curious to know where you went in this spot.
Well, I think that this is Dirty Diana's race to win or lose. I mean, myself, I got her in for second, but I think that she's the one that we have to really, really pay the most attention to. I mean, last week she raced in the optional 60,000 claimer, finishes second to Wicked and Single. Now she's going to take a big drop into the optional 30. I mean, come on. She just about win the class above this. Now she's going to drop in here, middle of the gate, good rotation on her game right now. Lot to like about Dirty Diana, but I'm going to go Chief Stream Girl in here, because I just find her to be extremely, extremely dangerous, Chief Stream Girl. She's racing good right now. She's going to take a little bit, or coming right back to the same class. Been staying in this non-winners of 9,000, non-winners of 6,000. Always dangerous. Her last trip, she was locked in till too late. And I think that every time that I see her get a trip like that, she's that much more dangerous the following week. So Chief Stream Girl, 10-1. I couldn't be that lucky.
Yeah, you could see the difference in opinions here on this board, right? A lot of different colors here. I went to Lines Better Day. Even from the 10 hole, I like the way she qualified leading up to this event. We know she's got the class to be competitive, but she just strung together some efforts that were rather inconsistent for her ability, right? So I like the way that she qualified last time out against Powertrain. It looked like she had plenty of interest right on Powertrain's back. So won that all back, 10-hole or not. But I'm in agreement with you, Chief Stream Girl. I've got her in underneath. Wouldn't shock me if she put forth a pretty good effort, because she's always live on the end of it. Hopefully she can get towed into it and be a threat. But a lot of other mares that are sharp, right? I mean, Gentrify is coming off a good effort. Mickey 6, tired on the front end, but she's going to take a drop down in class. Maybe that kind of effort's going to, help her be a little bit sharper tonight.
Well, and I mean, number one, she did get tired, so it should make her a little bit better. The other way, too, is, we've seen Mickey 6 race good from off the pace. Just, she showed up here fitting non-winners of 2,500. I mean, you had to race her in front, but, up in this class, I wouldn't be scared to see her race from off the pace and still have good results.
All right. That concludes our recap here for race number 11 on this Saturday night program. Randy, you weren't here yesterday, but the news broke that Peaceful Way did pass away. Chad and I kind of touched on it, showed a couple of her highlights during her racing career. Well, we mentioned we could have been here all night talking about just what she accomplished throughout her career. But I wanted to kind of throw it to you because you got a chance to obviously watch her, you got a chance to compete against her, and obviously, and Dave Tingley obviously very well. Chad even reminded me, I got a chance to meet him in studio last month, and I kind of forgot about it until he reminded me of it. But this was some trotting filly, some trotting mare, and I just kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on what you thought, or what kind of career you thought, and just being able to watch and compete against her.
Well, I could say that on this circuit anyway, she would be the best trotting mare that I ever saw. You know, she could beat the boys, and that is not an easy thing for any mare to do, especially when they're at the very, very top level. I mean, she's a Maple Leaf Trot winner, but she has so much speed, and she could take the boys on, even if she was facing the best ones. But I think the thing that I liked the best about her was the fact that she refused to lose. She had an attitude. I mean, she was an Angus Hall in the horse racing business. A lot of times people will call them angry halls because they were very feisty kind of a breed, and she was feisty times 10, So the big thing was that, she brought all this amazing ability, but you had to have somebody that was willing to work with her, and they did. Tingley is an amazing trotting kind of a trainer. He worked with this girl real big time. Chris Christoforou Jr. Gave her all of her early lessons and never made a mistake with her. Trevor Ritchie took over, also, gave her some great drives. But I can't remember the name of the girl that looked after her. Her name was Isabel, and I can't think of her last name, but her and this filly, and I'm telling you that she was not an easy filly to be around at times, and her and this filly were just like that. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm going to remember is Isabel looking after this amazing trotting mare.
Now tell me, because I asked Chad this, I know we see it a lot now, but with the mares beating the boys, especially on the trotting side, was that still happening around that time consistently, or was Peaceful Way maybe one of the first to kind of go out there, tackle the boys, and get the job done? I must have been between 8 and 10 when she was racing.
Yeah, I mean, you'd seen it like ages ago. I mean, there was the great trotting mare that Duncan McTavish had. Fresh Yankee, I think her name was. She could beat the boys, and that's back in like the 60s and 70s, you know what I mean? And there's been other ones. Moneymaker could beat the boys, in the 90s, I would say, 90s, 2000 for Jimmy Takter and those. But she did it different because she didn't need a trip to do it. She didn't need to grind to do it. They had to play her game, which was basically catch me if you can. And most times, they couldn't catch her. And that was the thing that got me. She never needed any help to win races. She could kick the boys' asses because just simply she was more talented than the boys were.
You could see Dave's face light up when you said this is the gentleman who developed and trained the Peaceful Way, and his face absolutely lit up. It just goes to show, I mean, those generational horses, when they come around for drivers, trainers, owners, I mean, it's special. Maybe you didn't get a chance to be a part of a Peaceful Way's ride, but you know what it's like to sit behind a generational horse, right? And Sandpail and the memories and the thrills that he gave you, not only you, but Rod Hughes as well, and just the sport of harness racing. And look, anytime, I said it to Chad, anytime there's a stakes race named after you, you had a special career.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing, too, with her as well is the fact that, Chris, a lot of people when they talk about Chris's marquee horse or whatever, the one that they always associate with the Greeks in name, a lot of people say Astraeus, and that's not a bad pick. His dad trained him, his dad bred him, Chris drove him, a lot to that way. But to me, she was always Chris's, the one that I like. As soon as I think of Peaceful Way, I think of Chris, or I think of Tingley. You know what I mean? Trevor did an amazing job for her, but he'd be the first to tell you that her manners were already laid down for him. Trevor just had to work with her, and nobody was any better than jumping up cold and working with a trotter, especially if they had some quirks about them, than Trevor Ritchie. He was trotting Trevor for a reason, but big props to Chris Jr. for the job that he did with her as well.
Yeah, her legacy on the track is definitely going to live on forever. And plenty of people have some great memories of Peaceful Way, and just one that had an impact on so many people's lives, especially on this circuit as well. So yeah, just unfortunate.
Sounds like she's had a huge impact on people's lives over in Norway.
Yeah.
You know, as well. It's almost like she's the queen of trot over there by listening to or reading the interviews. You know?
All right. So there's some nice to hear your thoughts, though, Randy. Of course, that just hearing your perspective, having watched and competed against her as well. We're going to look at some pick 5 ticket ideas now, Randy, and let's start off with your early pick 5. This is a little bit of a different constructed ticket than what we're normally accustomed to seeing from you, so let's go through it.
Just the one single, and that's going to come along in race number 3. That's going to be Figment. I'm going to take a chance here, and he is going to be my signal because I had to go really, really deep in race number 4. So just using the 2 up till then. What you looking at? Captain Fear Not in the first, Tricks on You and Sapphire Steve in the second, and then the single in the third of Figment. And then in the 4th race, I kind of struggled. I was thinking all, but there was a couple of horses I really don't like them as win candidates, so I did end up using 6 numbers in there. And then in race number 5, I'm going to go back to Beach Tour, and I'm also going to throw Jabberwocky in there, really hoping that the Xeron stable has a big night tonight, John.
Yep, those are, I think you got to feel confident in the 2 that you're using, but which version of Jabberwocky are we going to see? Because I thought we felt pretty confident.
Or she's got it all.
Or she's got it all, exactly. But Beach Tour, tell you what, that mile stacks up well against the group he's taking on tonight. So there's a look at your early pick 5 ticket, Randy, and I'm in agreement with you. Figment, the way that I'm going to go as a single. I'm going to go 3 singles right in the middle. I'm going to go deep in leg 1 and deep in leg 5. I'm all in on Sapphire Steve. I think this is a really good spot for her to get the job, for him to get the job done, I should say. I think, I mean, you watch his races closely. I mean, he's been doing some trotting on the end of it, so he's got a good draw to work with. I think this is a winning spot for this son of Chixton. Figment, I'm like you, all in on him, and I'm going to go all in on Stormalong. I think he works his way down to a class where he should be able to get the job done. Draws well, and I think there's nobody really in the race that maybe scares me enough if his class prevails. So Stormalong, one that I'm going to go to in this spot, and then I'll spread in race number 5. I mean, I really do think PL Oliver's sitting on a good effort. He was aggressively handled last week, Randy. He took a lot of air being parked, but JMR Speakaway, Beach Tour, and Jabberwocky, two horses that you used in your pick 5 ticket, I think I've got to throw them in as well. So, I like the way my ticket, I feel pretty good about my ticket as well, but I think there are a couple of maybe risky singles, but I'm willing to die on that hill.
Who's your top pick in race 4?
Race 4, Stormalong.
Stormalong?
Yeah.
I went Ben Looking.
Ben, look, he's got the ability, but I just didn't love what I've seen from him last time. But maybe just
I find the last time he brought him here, there was kind of the same lines.
Yeah.
And then all of
He
a sudden
scares
he comes
me.
up with this big, huge mile.
He scares me. Maybe he needed that start, right? He missed a
Maybe.
few weeks. You're right. Maybe he did need a start like this. All right, let's look at some plays board, Randy. We got a chance to see some of your thoughts last night, even though you weren't here. And let's look at let's hear about your thoughts here tonight.
Okay, so we're going to start this off with worth a look in race number 4, and that is Ben Looking. I'm going to throw him in as a worth a look in there. Every once in a while, he shows up here with an incredible effort. You can see 51-4 already this year on our circuit. In race number 6, Waples Watch is going to be Tricks Up My Sleeve. That one for the tandem of Hayter and Scotty Young. Race number 7, Rochester Flash. We talked ad nauseum about him. He's going to be my beat the favorite. I really do think that Waffle Blue Chip will take favorite status in that race. And in race number 8 is going to be my all-in. And that's the one we didn't get to talk about. And that's going to be Amber Jack coming in here from Truro for Team Webby and entering the Maneri camp. We've seen this movie before.
Yep, and I'm in agreement with you. I think I went all in on him as well. I didn't make him an all-in play, but he's going to be a pick 5 single for me. But my best bet's going to be Sapphire Steve, one that I think is sitting on a winning effort. My drop and pop Stormalong. Worth a look, PL Oliver. I mean, again, he draws well. He was aggressively handled from pole 7. I don't see why that's going to be any different with a better draw. And my spot play, Rochester Flash. I don't know.
So you don't think he's going to be favored either?
I don't know, actually. I think there's a chance. I'm in agreement with you. It could be Waffle Blue Chip or it could be him. I still think there's a good shot. It could be Rochester Flash. But I just think he's in a better spot tonight. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think I'm confident in backing him the same way that you are as well. Let's hear some other thoughts from some resident handicappers. Garnet Barnsdale in agreement with me. Sapphire Steve. Doug Henwood going to Back to the Future. You backed him last time.
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah. I'm using him again tonight, but not on top.
And Chief's Dream Girl, Gislaine Paquette's High Five Dangerous. So he's in agreement with you on your top selection.
Could be an interesting night.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Could be an interesting night tomorrow because I like the card on the Sunday night program as well.
Oh, you're already taking us into Sunday.
Yeah, we're already taking us into Sunday. I'm glad that
you are the eager beaver.
I'm really happy that some games that I want to watch in the early slate of football are at 1 o'clock. So I can enjoy some football at 1 p.m., watch the rest of the games on the way here. Shout out to Daz and DAZN. You know, it gives me the opportunity to watch the games on the way to the track. And then we can dig into some harness racing. So you just gotta, Randy, you gotta look at the positives in life, right?
This is it. Your glass is more than half full.
Football to watch and wager on all day long, and then you can either try and get out on harness racing, or you can try and roll over the profits some more. So just the Sunday degeneracy.
Yes, this
right?
is it.
That's what I do. I start off my day at church, and then I just dig into degeneracy all day long.
There you go.
Quite the life.
Exactly.
Yeah, quite the life.
Yeah, for sure.
But
well, I'll tell you, it's probably better you do it that way than doing all the degenerate and then going to church.
Oh yeah, that's exactly. I hope that I can get rid of some of the my bad doings out of the way, and then maybe the good karma can work out for a couple of fumbles my way, or maybe a couple of photo finishes my way. Just try to think ahead.
Yeah, what's the Schwang? Isn't that in the Asian thing? Good luck is
that what it is?
Or something? I think so.
You sure?
Something
Are you positive?
No.
Yeah,
no, and I shouldn't use words that I don't know because I have a bad go with that.
Don't think I can trust you with terms.
No.
Yeah, not anymore.
No. Pecan pie.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go. All right. American Thanksgiving coming up soon, so don't forget that. All right. That's going to wrap up our discussion here ahead of this Saturday night program. Randy and I will be with you all night long to cover this 11-pack. Good luck.